What's up, guys? We're here today with our 2014 hunting truck, and we're going to be talking about some performance mods that we threw on this to basically squeeze a little extra power out of it and get it driving a little nicer. It's a 5-liter V8 with the regular 6-speed automatic, so pretty standard material for what a lot of you guys are driving. But let's jump into the details of what we did to this thing. So the first mod was a K&N 57 series cold air intake that we've got under the hood. And cold air intakes are basically a really good just go-to mod for anybody that wants to start working on the engine of their vehicle or squeeze a little better throttle response out of it without having to make big changes or worry about touching the computer or anything else. So K&N is a world-renowned name, everybody's familiar, they make a good product, and we figured that 57 series would be a good fit for this truck. So driving around with the K&N installed, as with any cold air intake, it's not going to be a night and day difference, so to speak, as far as what you're feeling in the seat. K&N rates it about a 12 horsepower gain, and then obviously the increase in throttle response and just a little bit higher flowing filter does a bit for the way the truck feels when you're actually pushing on the pedal and getting going from a stop. So it is noticeable in that sense that it helps a little bit with the way the truck feels, but it's not going to throw you back in your seat. Now, like I said, that's not a mark specifically against K&N. That's just how cold air intakes are. They aren't like a supercharger where you're going to get massive power gains by bolting something on. It's definitely made to just be a simple, quick upgrade that helps the truck a little bit and gives you the advantage of having an oiled filter that you can clean and reuse. And that's something we really like to have on our trucks, especially because we run them in the dirt so often. It's kind of convenient to be able to just wash that out and pop it back on, as opposed to cycling through thousands of paper filters that we destroy over time. So another nice advantage of having a cold air intake with an open box like this one, where the filter is kind of exposed under the hood, is that you get a little bit more sound. So when you get on the throttle like this and put your foot into it, there's a little bit of a nice intake suction sound and the engine's a little bit louder. So if you're into that sort of thing, it can be a good upgrade and just makes it feel like the truck's a little sportier, which is nice. So overall, the K&N 57 series intake is a really good upgrade for these 5.0 engines, and I'm happy with the way it drives. It sounds good, feels good throttle response wise, and it's super easy to install too. We have a video on that. We'll put a link in the top corner there so you can check that out, but it's something you can do in your driveway with hand tools, and that makes it a really accessible mod, and definitely a good one if you guys are just getting into starting with modifying your truck. Now, the next mod I want to talk about is the tuner that we put in here. And what we ran is the Bully Dog GT Platinum tuner for gas engines, Ford gas engines. And this is a different tuner than any of the ones that we've ran on previous builds. It's a little unique. It's a super small unit with a nice little screen on it, a little color screen where you can run some live gauges and do data logging, a couple different things like that. So definitely a handy little device. And the way we have it set up is we're just running the regular performance tune from Bully Dog that's canned, that comes on the device on this truck. Now, the device is capable of running higher level tunes for like premium gas if you want, or running like more tow and economy tunes depending how you use the vehicle. And all of that is pretty nice to have. Obviously the caveat is if you're going to a higher level tune, you do have to run that higher level fuel. And a lot of times we end up just putting 87 in this. So the regular performance tune is a good fit, and that's what we're testing it with right now. So initial impressions running that regular tune from this Bully Dog on our 5.0 are pretty decent. The 5.0 engine is naturally aspirated, and there's not honestly a ton of juice you're going to be able to squeeze out of these things by just throwing a regular canned tune on it. It messes with some of the engine parameters, bumps up the throttle response a little bit, it'll mess with ignition timing, different things along those lines, and that all helps to get a little bit more power out of it, a little more torque, which is good. But the biggest area that can really make a difference in these trucks is with that automatic transmission. A lot of times these 6-speeds tend to kind of shift out of the power band, and so right when the 5.0 starts feeling like it's making power, it'll change gears and you lose it. And that can be super frustrating, and it really screws with the drivability of these trucks. But with a tuner like this, it'll tweak those shift points a little bit. And I can get on the throttle right now. You can see it jumps into gear pretty quick, holds it up, nice high RPMs, 4,500 or so. You're keeping in the power, it's nice and smooth. That's really where the drivability change comes from, and that's really where you start to feel the performance from a tune like this. So even though it's not throwing us back in our seats and it's not like, oh man, we've got another 100 horse on tap, it definitely feels like the truck performs better and drives a lot nicer on the road, and it feels like you do have more of the power that's already in the engine available to you. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, I don't know if I'm interested in a tuner that doesn't have these massive power gains and doesn't like throw me back in my seat, and I want something that feels like it really changes the truck. Like I said, that's not a mark against Bully Dog here. That's just how tuners are with these 5.0 engines. And so you really are counting on the throttle response and the change in shift points to really affect the way the truck drives. So the Bully Dog does everything that it advertises and really does feel good from a tuning standpoint. So tuning the truck and messing with engine parameters and all that is great, but that's not the only thing that the Bully Dog GT tuner does. Because it is a device with a little screen on there and it plugs into your OBD2 port, it has a lot of other cool features like being able to run live gauges, and you can kind of select what you see. So there's some customization, whether you want to look at engine RPMs, you want to look at boost, say you're running it on a turbo engine like a Ecoboost or whatever, you can pull that up. Transmission temps, actual engine coolant temp. There's different things for shift pressures and adjustments that can be made by you to tweak the way that the truck feels. Within that, going through all of their menus, and they have some different graphs and things for how you use throttle, all sorts of crazy stuff. So you can navigate through those menus. They're easy to use. It looks nice overall. The tuner is a small unit overall, so the screen isn't enormous, but that's really not a drawback. It keeps it kind of clutter-free and doesn't make it so it takes up the entire dash. And because the screen is nice and clear and it's color, it looks good nonetheless. So size doesn't really factor against it. It works really well for the size that it is. With all these features as well, you can also do things like checking and reading diagnostic trouble codes. So if your truck throws a check engine light, that's all stuff that you can read and clear right on the device here, instead of having to take your truck to like a dealership or down to a shop where they have to read it and pull the information for you. That makes it really helpful just in a day-to-day usage standpoint outside of obviously tuning the vehicle. The Bully Dog also has a few tricks up its sleeve in the way of adjusting for larger tire size and different axle ratios. So if you're making modifications to your truck with suspension and wheels, tires, all those different things, new gears, things that are going to change the way your speedo reads and the way the truck clocks through on the dash, this is going to be able to correct that, so now you're reading accurately and the truck has all the right information on the dash as you're driving, and that's really nice to have. Some people don't care, but for me personally, I like to know that the truck feels like it's put together and is operating the way it would from stock. So being able to make those fixes with this tuner are really convenient. Plus, being stage 3 and being the way that we build our trucks, we almost never leave the suspension and tire size alone. It's always bigger, and with this truck that's the case, so calibrating to get the speedometer right is really convenient. So overall, our hunting truck feels really good with these two simple mods on here. The intake and the tuner both do a bit to just bump up that performance a touch and get this truck feeling a little less sluggish, and it helps in all the areas you'd expect as far as daily driving is concerned, you know, merging onto the highway, getting around people, overtaking. It's just those little bumps in power and the drivability of the truck that make a difference. Obviously, both these parts are available on our site right now, so if you guys want to check those out, we'll put some links down in the description. You can get all the details there, and like I said, we have an install video on the intake as well, so you can see what it takes to actually put that in your truck if you want. But with all that being said, we'll see you guys next time.